Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Jua Fund Masterclass. For those of you who joined us the first time around, you will know that this is our second masterclass. First, I will introduce myself. My name is Leanne Collingridge. I'd like to introduce our two panelists who actually need no introduction to many of you, but we have Anna Henry Nyimbo, who is the founder of Cartrack Tanzania, Retriever Limited Kenya, Retriever Limited Rwanda, and Neo Bohemi Africa, among other things. So you can see she has a vast experience in starting businesses, very successful businesses. Anna is a strategic thinker with success in introducing new products in Tanzania and the East African market. She possesses broad functional experience in planning and marketing products and creating demand. So welcome, Anna. Thank you for joining us this morning. Adam Molai also needs no introduction. Adam is an African industrialist. He's the founder and chairman of TRT Investments, Mauritian-based diversified investment groups with interests across the range, primarily in manufacturing, bottling, property development, and financial services. Launched the Jua Fund, which is just intended to support South African and African entrepreneurs. And really, this is the reason we're here. This is a Jua Fund event. So welcome, Adam. And without further ado, we'll go into the question.
I'm a very practical person because I have built everything from scratch. So therefore, I shall explain very basic terms in that way. So I think for the first is to create a need. It's very important to create a need in the market. So therefore, you go out door to door. You know, there is no other way. Door to door is the most practical. Don't try the big media, like, you know, then you find the telecommunication, they do this huge amount of advertising. And when you're starting their business, most of the people think like that scale, you know, that large scale. I said, don't go there. You're going to fail miserably. You're going to need a lot of money, which you don't have. So start on your groundwork, which is basically looking for the market, creating the needs, door to door, introducing your products, make a strategy, how you're going to do that, involve yourself. Don't look for third parties to do it for you, because the person who knows the product more than anybody and knows the idea and the value, and you know your why. The rest of the people out there won't know your why. You yourself know your why. So you need to physically be on the groundwork, doing the groundwork, you know? So don't look at people like Adam. He's made it already. He's got a team of a few hundreds of salespeople around Africa, and you want to be with like him immediately. No, I am sure he was as I was. When he started, he probably went door to door to look for people, like supermarket to supermarket, to sell those chicken, you know?
I still do.
So, you know, isn't it, Adam?
I still do door to door, and there's no substitute.
No substitute. So you have to create the need. You have to go to the market. You have to go door to door. You have to involve your friends, your family, anybody you know. They should be your first raving fans. So when we say you create your raving fans, should be your family, your friends, all the people close to you. And those are your first customers. So don't neglect them, because they probably are the ones that will be telling other people. I am starting a new business, New Bomi, and my first clients are my sisters, my friends, all my colleagues, the people that I want to work with, like I said previously, the services, the people that I want to get services from them. So I'm giving them their products so they can give me their service for trade work, and so on and so forth. That is the best way to do it. There is no other way. Big advertisement, putting things paper advertisement, websites, and all of this. It's good if you have that little capital to start with. But if you don't have, my friend, just go to door to door, and you don't get tired until you get that market, you get that steady revenue income every month.
Anna couldn't have put it better. If I look when I was starting my first business, the ordering, when we said we're going to start setting up the chicken infrastructure, I was involved with the builders. I would take the builders. I would help them. We would be making sure that the water connection to get down to where they're building is there. I would be there seeing them build the facility. When they're getting the bedding, I would be following up on the team that's cutting the grass to make sure that there's bedding. I would be making sure when the trucks are bringing the feed, I'm there to count every bag to make sure that every bag has been received. When they are looking after them during the day, I'll be going and checking and making sure that how things are expected to be done are being done. We would only slaughter in the evening because we didn't have any fancy facilities. So we needed the cool temperatures of the evening. And when the slaughtering was being done and the packaging was being done, I was there with them, right? And we'd then drive. The only help I had at that time was a driver, because we then had to drive quite a distance to get back. That was the time I got to sleep, right? As we're driving back to where my main market was. And once we got there, the refrigeration of those chickens, I was there, right? Initially, I was refrigerating them in my mother's freezer, right? Because that's where I had to create extra capacity. I was able to find another old freezer somewhere else, which you put in the garage, so that now we could capacitate even more chicken. But from there, I would personally deliver them to each of the butcheries we're supplying, right? And I would then also then be going door to door to look for more butcheries as more and more capacity came online. So even when we set up what is now Pacific Cigarettes, there are very few places in Harare and in many cities in Zimbabwe where the store owners who had the stores there don't know me, because I knocked on their door personally. Every single one of them, thousands of them, right? And I would get there in the morning and I would go shop by shop. When we came up with a strategy to say, guys, we need to put in dispensers for cigarettes because our competitors were locking us out of the market, saying we can't have these people's cigarettes in our dispensers. I went door to door seeking their support to put in the dispenser, move out the multinational one, or put ours next to it, right? Develop that relationship. Share your number with each individual so that, you know, there is that personal relationship with those in the market who have to support you, right? And you go to Cape Town, you call it Guguletu, Mitchell's Plain, wherever. I would put my cap on, my t-shirt, my jeans, get a little Vivo, go in there and go shop to shop. And up to today, I go and visit the market, right? Doesn't matter how much your business is growing, still you need to be visiting the market. You may have management doing it, but there's no substitute to your own eye because you know what you want. Remember, guys, a business is like a child. It's like your baby. There is nobody who will ever look after you better than your mother, right? In the same way, there's nobody who will ever look after your business better than you. So if you don't take that level of ownership of that business, the conversion of that idea to reality becomes something else. I remember, and I'll share my own experience, back when my father had grown his business, was very successful, but he was starting a new bakery. And I remember it was being launched 2 days before Christmas. And I remember we were in there together all night, and he was watching and monitoring production all night. We drove 2.5 hours to get to where this business was. All day, all night, he was in there. He left early morning, went, showered, changed, came back, right? So that's the level of commitment that a new business requires. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It's like a child. If that child is ill, you don't say it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I'll wait until 8 a.m. to take them to the doctor. You deal with it then, because that is the level of involvement that you need to convert your idea into reality. Steps. I think Anna's mentioned it. Market is everything.
And also, may I add?
Yes, please, Anna. Yeah.
It also helps. It also helps them help us to develop that product to a new level. You know, because when you are on the ground, you get the feedback from the clients, and they will inform you, oh, we like it like this, but if you tweak it like this, it will be even better. So that it's like a process that you are going through with being on the ground, marketing and selling and doing all of that, but also you are growing your product to a much better product for the market. So
and
you're
that point you raised,
the needs of the actual customer.
That point you raise is critical. 7 years into our cigarette journey in Zimbabwe, we were growing, but we were only managing to reach about 20-something percent. And we couldn't crack to get the next level of volume. I remember going into a beer hall, a tavern, right, in one of the townships. Jeans, T-shirt, cap, sat around with the guys. They were drinking the local brew. It was about 11, 12 o'clock during the day. They were the early guys who spend their day drinking, right? Bought them some of this brew, right? Sat with them there, right? And then I brought out a pack of our cigarettes. And they said, well, you know, we don't really like these. They're nice, but we don't really like them as much. And I'm like, why? Talk to me. He says, where are you from? I said, no, I've come to visit an uncle of mine who lives in this area, right? But he says he'll meet me here at the beer hall. So he'll be here probably in the next few minutes, because they wanted to first know who I am. And then I said, guys, so tell me, why do you say you don't like the cigarettes I smoke? I said, you know, because it's not toasted. And I said, what do you mean? But it is. I brought out a pack and I showed them. And they said, no, it's not toasted. Look at the cigarette we smoke. And they showed me their cigarette, but they showed me the stick. And that's when the penny dropped. We had the word toasted on a packet, but none of these guys ever saw packets because they buy them in single sticks. The competitor already had it on the stick. We went and put that word toasted on the stick. Our volumes doubled within 3 months. And before we knew it, we'd taken the market. It was as little silly insight, as little and silly as that. But it was the moment our journey in Zimbabwe changed. We more than doubled our sales within 3 months just by adding that word on the stick of the cigarette itself. So true to what Anna's saying, the insights and product development come from you being on the ground. So there is no substitute to that. Demand creation, right? What did we do?
Yeah.
I'll share some very crazy things we did as we were demand creating, as Anna would say. In South Africa, we were getting in. We wanted the spas and all these shops to start stocking. I would go in, and then I created a team of 5, 6, and then eventually became 20. I'd go in and get a trolley, fill the trolley with all sorts of products, get to the cashier, they would ring in all these products, several thousand rands of products. And then at the end of it, I'd ask for a brick of Pacific cigarettes. They would say they don't have any. And I'd say, okay, if you don't have any, I'll go somewhere where they get them. So they've rung in 3,000-4,000 rand of goods. And now they're seeing you walking out because they don't have this silly thing called Pacific. We had these people phoning us to say, bring us your damn Pacific, right? It's demand creation. We went to nightclubs, right? And we went in there with lots of used packets in our pockets. What did we do? We planted them, dropped them in strategic places. Then these guys would be phoning in SATS the next day and say, we're seeing that a lot of our customers are smoking this thing called Pacific, but we don't have it. Can you bring it, right? It wasn't customers. It was us planting empty packets, knowing that the owner of that business is going to be saying, as they're sweeping, why have I got more packets of something I don't stock than of something I stock? Clearly, I need to have this in my stock. Guys, this is the practicality of demand creation. You have to go there and excite and incite the market and get people to start ordering. There's lots of little seeming gimmicks, but it gets the attention of the store owner. It gets you on the shelf. Once you're on the shelf, the customers start to see you and see you more frequently. And because they see you more frequently everywhere, they say, well, let's give these guys a chance and try it. So it then creates the trial. They test the product, they like it, and then now you have repeat purchase. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But you have to plant the seed. It won't plant itself.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
That is 100% creating demand in the market. Perfect, Adam. Brilliant. There is definitely no one answer. So, for example, when I've just started this year. I started New Bomi, and it's a product that needs the Tanzania Bureau of Standards to be approved. So it needs to go through chemical tests and so on and so forth. So the bureaucracy here in Tanzania, it's like you have to go through a process of everything. So I went and I registered the company, but now I have only registered the company. I don't have any license. I'm not registered with a VAT. I don't have anything because the laboratory has taken over 8 months to give me any results. So my products are sitting with the Tanzania Bureau of Standards to go through all these laboratory scientific tests, and they haven't given me anything. But that does not stop me from marketing my product. I'm still doing exactly what Adam's saying. I'm still going to the shops. I'm still going to the pharmacies. I'm still going to people I know. I'm still going to the beauty parlors. I'm still all over. I'm not stopping. I'm still on the ground creating the demand, even though the processes of licenses and permits and all of these things are not yet done. I'm not even registered in the tax portfolio. So I'm still doing the groundwork what we just talked. So you can't say, oh, I don't have a business license, or I have not registered yet my company, or I haven't done this. Then you give up and you say, let me wait for this. If you wait, by the time you get all of those things, you are actually back to zero. So you need to spontaneously do everything compressed at the same time and continue and go and move forward. The whole process is to just move forward. That's why it's very important. You must make a plan. That plan, the business plan at the beginning, is crucial. You have to make that plan so that you don't fall back and say, oh, just because I don't have the registration, well, I'm not going to do anything.
I mean,
Adam, what is your experience?
My experience was, the first thing was always, it would be Adam trading as X, Y, or Z for the purposes of opening a bank account. The registration itself of that company came once I had resources, right? Because it costs money to go and register a company, right? And I'm saying, of all the priorities I have, am I going to waste limited cash flow on spending a couple of $1,000 or dollars to go and register a company legally? No, right? So it's a proprietor, self-proprietary. So it's your name trading as Savannah Tobacco. Then once you have the resources, then you go and register Savannah Tobacco Private Limited, because now you've got the resources to be able to do it. But in terms of IP, what Anna is doing now, the first thing she would have also done is also gone to make sure she's protected that product, right? Because in the first masterclass, we talked of the whole essence of intellectual property. If you've created a product that you have to protect, there you've got no alternative of running around, because if you don't, somebody will steal your name. I mean, I'll share an example. Our first cigarette was supposed to have been called Savannah, after the company which we were calling Savannah Tobacco. But I had a partner who started talking about it with his friends and whatever. By the time I got to the IP registry, it was registered the day before by a competitor, right? It's just to frustrate your journey, right? So we then had to come with a different name and register that IP that moment before we even started announcing it. So the aspect of intellectual property is critical in terms of its protection. The writing of the business plan, we did talk about that in the first masterclass as part of your journey of developing your business, developing your idea, and testing it and prototyping it. That's all part of the business planning, right? That's all part of looking at the scenario. That's all part of the cash forecasts and all of those things. Now we're talking post that. What are the practical things you have to do to be able to start to count the dollars and cents, the rands and cents, right? If you are not acting and working actively in the market, then you're not in business, because everything else supports sales. Everything else, production is to support sales. Financial accounting is accounting of sales you've done. Human resources support is for sales. So ultimately, guys, it all rises and falls on sales.
So when you create a market need, when you are out there, you have created the need. So you cannot refuse if one person comes and say, I want one, and you have a huge company saying, I want 100. You're not going, you are at that level of starting point, and you haven't outlined your outlets and your distribution. So you're not going to refuse a 1 client or 100 client. For you at that moment, everybody is a client until you have set yourself the outlets, level kind of places. Then and you have maybe have advertised that these are my outlets and so on and so forth. So you can then now direct systematically your client to those outlets or to the internet or wherever it is. But when you're starting, when you're creating the needs, when you're looking for those raving fans and you're doing the marketing, you actually sometimes you even carry those products on your hand. So when you go to a place and they say, oh, but I would like to try that one. Can I buy one? You're like, yeah, of course, here. You get cash. And that's why Adam said, sales is everything. Everything is sales. So from the get-go, your aim is to just keep on those sales going, regardless how, where, whatever channels you use. Every channel is used to sell that product. So you can't say, oh, but I just want to sell on the internet, all right? So, but how are the people going to know that your product is valuable for them to buy on the internet if they haven't physically seen it, want it, tried it? Then now they can go to the internet to buy it. So at the beginning, you just sell in any way, under any channels, at any outlets. You just want to sell as much as you want, as much as you can.
I mean, in terms of also trying it, one of the things is Anna's going in now with a product, but there are alternatives, right? So when you're looking as well in the process of development, you're going and saying, what is out there? What is the predominant taste, right? I was talking about cigarettes and saying Zimbabwe has a peculiar taste, right? When you look at the rest of Africa, it's Virginia market, Zimbabwe is an American blend market. So you need to understand the tastes of each of the various areas you're playing in. What do they prefer? And based on that, that's how you then make sure you develop a product that's aligned to the tastes and needs of that market. But what happens for us to get that right was not just because we got it right. We actually went out there with samples as we were trying to create the product. And people are trying it and they say, you know what, I like it, but I prefer this instead of that. And then you're already starting to get an idea of people's preferences. So when you're now ready to actually roll out and scale, you have a strong idea of what the preferences are. Now, in that, you need to also try it in several areas. Don't try it in one homogeneous area, because one area will have a totally different idea to another. So don't say, just because in Joburg, everybody wanted the strawberry flavor, so we are going strawberry flavor nationwide. You may be surprised to find that in Cape Town, people like the peach, right? So you need to make sure that based on where you're going to be launching, normally when you're launching small, you launch in one area because you don't have the capacity to be able to launch in 10 areas. So in that one area, you understand. When you're going into the next area, don't make the assumption that what worked here is going to work there. Don't make the assumption that what was desired here in terms of preference is going to be desired there in terms of preference, right? You have to always keep engaging the market. That's why you heard Anna saying, and I keep repeating, there's no substitute to being in the market, because that's where you get your empirical research from that then informs the final decisions of the product you put into each of those segments.
So there is no easy way out to tell you this, but that's why entrepreneurs are called risk takers. We are called risk takers because from the day one, we take the risk of actually creating an idea and going and producing that product full on and actually going out and selling it. So I got into partnership with some German manufacturer, pharmacy, and they've developed these products that I sell. And they produced it and I'm selling it. And there is no saying, oh, just produce only 10 products. Let me try 10 products and let's see. No, there is no such thing. Let me try and let me see. No, I'm going to bring this amount so that I can create the need and actually be able to provide the need full on without shortage. I don't think Adam produced only 10 cigarettes or only 10 chickens. No, we go all in. That's why we are called risk takers. And you know what? It's like a pendulum. The higher the risk, the bigger the reward. So that is basically at the end of the day, it's like that.
The higher the risk, the more it keeps you awake at night. And the more it keeps you awake at night, the more it propels you to work harder at it, right? If the risk is high, you know you have to work hard because there's a lot to lose, right? But if there's little to lose, it doesn't give you the drive and incentive to work hard, right? So the higher the potential loss, the higher the level of effort that goes into what you're doing, right? I mean, we've gone in, I'll give a typical example. Cigarettes. When we started making, we filled up the warehouse, right, with cigarettes. And we're saying, guys, what are we going to do with all these cigarettes that we filled the whole warehouse with? But because we had filled a warehouse, we then had to find a solution to get where we're going to sell those cigarettes. And I tell you what, seeing that full warehouse every day made sure that you didn't sleep. And that's what said, guys, this thing of saying we're entrepreneurs, we're going to sit in an office and we're going to have salespeople go out there, forget. I'm going out there, door to door to door, convincing people to take it brick by brick by brick. When we came into, let's say, South Africa, and we wanted to introduce various variants, we ended up saying, okay, guys, how do we do it? Let's create a brick which has 10. Normally it should be 10 of the same brand. We said, okay, let's put 6 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these to make 10, so that you have a full spectrum, but people are only investing minimum. Because you have to iterate to say, how do I get it on the shelf? Once it was on the shelf, and people were saying, no, I'm seeing this blue one of yours moving faster. Can I just have one that has just the blue? Now, there we go. The preferences are forming, and you're now supplying more of the blue one that they want. The red one is not really selling here. Since we got the 2, they're still here. The green one, yeah, it's starting to sell. Can I have half of one, right? So you said, okay, guys, let me give you one with half of a blue, half of a green one. And over time, you know, the volumes start to increase, and then you start to see the demand patterns by the different brands and the different variants. But you have to get in their head first. My first batch of chickens, it was 1,000. But I knew that every week I was getting the next 1,000. Within 7 weeks, I had 7,000 chickens, right? From 0 to 7,000 in 7 weeks, right? And I had to find a market that was going to be able to absorb the 1,000 chickens a week. Because what were you going to do with those chickens? And you can't keep them too long. Because if you keep them even 2 to 3 days longer, you're losing money because they're eating. And they're eating by that stage, they're eating and not converting it into weight. So it's literally just going in and out. And that in and out is costing you money. So you have to kill it at its 6 or 7 weeks and package it. But you also don't have storage capacity, remember. I'm telling you, I was putting them in a freezer in my mother's house and in my mother's garage, right? How much space is that? So it can only carry so much. So you have to create the movement. You even have to go to a stage where you say, guys, this guy says he doesn't have the money to buy. Say, no problem. Let me leave you at the stock. Sell it and you pay me once you've sold it. I mean, you have to come with whatever mechanisms you have to come with to make sure that you're getting it moving out in the market and, you know, out of your area of either 1, consuming more feed, or 2, taking up the space you don't have for refrigeration. It's a difficult one. I had some let me share maybe the hard knock I learned. I thought the best way to go about it, let's get commission-only salespeople, right? And get them to help. What I didn't know was that the law didn't allow something that's called a commission only. There had to be a basic, right? Now, these commission people who got on board, they actually were making more than double what the minimum wage was. But when they then left, they came back to say, oh, by the way, we weren't paid. We weren't paid. And then came suddenly the big realization that no, there's no such thing as a commission-only salesperson. There has to be a basic. So I had to then pay them that basic minimum, even though they'd been making more than double what that minimum was, right? So that was my first lesson in terms of bringing people on. When do you bring people on? You bring people on as you now are stretched in terms of your ability and capacity to do everything that has to be done. Initially, you're person Friday. I was telling you, I would be there supervising production. I would be there going out to sell. I would be there making sure that we're collecting the money. I would be there doing the accounting at some time of the day, right? There comes a time when now the volume and expectation becomes beyond your own capacity. You're realizing now that I've been going so many months on literally fumes of sleep, right? I'm now getting overstretched. Let me get one extra person to help me. But initially, what I found, we all have many unemployed family members. We all have many unemployed friends. Started with bringing some of those on board. Guys, I need a hand, right? How can you help me, right? How can you help me take this to this area? How can you help me go out here? But don't just send them out, train them. That's the most critical thing I learned, right? You need to remember, you've created a sales pitch that you are now comfortable with, and that's now working. You can't throw somebody else out there and say, okay, go and try it, because he can damage your brand. He can damage everything you've done. You literally have to take them with you, show them the pitch, get them to understand the pitch, get them to pitch and sell in your presence for a couple of customers until you say, hey, this guy now has it. Then only then do you release them. Never, ever, ever release a half-baked cake of an individual to represent your brand. All the hard work you'd have done can be destroyed by one person saying the wrong things to the wrong people. So what I learned there is, when you're bringing the people on, when the pressure becomes too much for you, training is everything, right? Help them know and understand the product. My standard used to be, until or unless you can sell it to me, I'm not taking you into the market. So I remember there was a time when I was in a carpet business. We've tried, if I tell you the industries we've tried and the products we've tried, it's crazy. But I said to the guys, unless you can sell me that carpet, you're not going to go out there to represent us. So they had to do the sales pitch, right? Walk in. I'm your customer. What do you say as you walk in? How do you walk in? How do you present yourself? What's your demeanor? All of that was part of what we're looking at. No. Your shirt is not tucked in. You're coming in, you're slouching. You're looking down. You're not looking into my eyes. All of those things, you'd go through them, right? When I went into the fuel business, I ran a service station. I used to bring every fuel attendant to my house at the start of their shift, right? All of them. Put them in my living room, get a video training of how to direct cars to the pump. What do you say? How do you tell them, can I open your bonnet, check your oil and water? Have a great day, sir. All of those things, right? They were videos. I would play those videos for the guys every week before they started their shift in my living room, right? So they would come to my living room before they went to the service station to start. That's the level of involvement it requires once you're deciding to get people on board, because they are representing your brand. And you have to make sure that you've developed them and prepared them to represent that brand as well as you can, if not better. I don't know what you found, Anna.
When you introduce salespeople into your company, you have to be prepared, like Adam say, to give your time, your effort, and your skills, pass them on to those people. If you're not ready for that, don't bring them in. Don't bring them in, because as Adam said, they will ruin your whole dream, your whole idea. Everything you have built, they will crumble it down within a day. So the crucial part is, if you're going to introduce those people, the salespeople into your, do it in the most professional manner. and be 100% that leader, that mentor, that trainer that can be there every day to teach them until they actually dream, think. If you ask them a question, they must reply to that answer like it's been in their head forever. And I can't stress enough to the fact that if somebody sees that person, the first thing they see that person, they must think of their product. Every time they see that person, all they can think about is your product because they are basically representing the product. So that is basically comes from the training Adam was talking about, is that you must put your energy and your time in those salespeople. And don't bring 10 people at a time, because you might just crumble. You will crumble. So you have to introduce, maybe 1 or 2 at a time, and then train them and just give them all your energy and your time and your skills, so that you can actually transfer those knowledge and the skills to that person. And the best time is, like Adam says, when you are stretched. When a client says, I need you to see you at this time, and you've got another 3-4 clients that you need to see, okay, it's time that I bring in other people to actually replace the gaps. So you will see the gaps. When you see those gaps, then this is the time to replace people. But you can't say, oh, I'm seeing the gap, yet you are waking up at 7 in the morning, and by the time you get to work, it's 9, and and then you're saying you're seeing the gap. No. Wake up at 5, make sure everything is done, and move on. Until when you have a complete chock-a-block of maybe 12 to 14 hours of working day, and you are just chock-a-block, then it's time to, there is a gap, I need to introduce new people.
I'm not encouraging anybody.
Because
but in my first 2 years, Anna, I'm not encouraging anybody to do the same. My first 2 years as an entrepreneur, I got a maximum of 4 hours of sleep a night. Maximum. Right? I'm not encouraging it for anybody. But that's what it took.
No.
That's what it took, right? It took every day, 365 days a year. I was up 20 hours a day working on these things to make them work. It didn't come on a silver platter. It wasn't easy, and it still isn't easy. And it doesn't get easy, because every day you have to be reinventing yourself, right? As the entrepreneurial journey is an everyday journey. And what Anna's doing today, if in 6 months' time she has not improved it, if in 6 months' time she has not taken it to the next level, right? Somebody else will be coming to move her cheese. Somebody else will be coming to benefit from what they've learned from her. Remember, as you are developing, you become your own competitor creator, right? I've looked at so many businesses we've created because we made it look so easy, right? And people saw and said, wow, this is a quick way to get success. They don't know the journey, right? When they see it, they only count it from when they see it. They don't know there's been a 5-year journey before when they saw it, right? And when they see it, they say, wow, this was quick success. So everybody then says, I'm going to go and try that as well. And guess what they do? They're doing exactly what you were doing, and have learned exactly from you. So unless you are changing your game, right, they will change the game faster than you and make you look like a me too. So for you to remain the original, you have to remain ahead, right? And all the guys who are coming, you need to be innovating ahead of them. If they innovate faster than you and become ahead of you, you end up looking like the Me Too product. You might end up looking like the guy who copied these other guys' idea when it was actually the other way around, because they've been able to transition faster, right?
Precisely, yeah. Very true. Very true. Yeah. So like I was saying, it's really important to make sure that you are innovative. But I didn't mention the hours. I said 12 to 14 hours because actually I was exactly like you when I started. I was working 18 hours and everything. But I was suggesting 12 to 14 hours because I think that's durable and that's much manageable at this stage. And, you know, the new age group at the moment, I mean, they only work like 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day, which is fine. But but I would say, hey, if you're building an empire, you know, they push a little bit to 12 hours, 14 hours, you know, so that you can grow something, you know, so things that are not grown in 4 hours, that's for sure. You need to put the time and the effort, and you know, you have to be out in the market and then come back, develop your product, and then go back, do the paperwork, and then go back, be innovative, like Adam says, so that the new people can't catch up to you. And so that all needs a lot of time. It needs a long day to be able to do that day in, day out, and you know, be ahead of the pack, basically. Yeah.
If you follow Malcolm Gladwell, Leanne, and the 10,000 hour theory, right? If you're doing 10 hours a day, you're going to need 1,000 days. If you're doing 20 hours a day, you're going to achieve that in 500 days. So it's your choice as to how soon you achieve your 10,000 hours.
Most of us started business with actually no money. Actually, we started with an idea, and we started with a very small saving. And unfortunately, I would like to bring this first because I have a problem. Unfortunately, we in Africa, we don't have money discipline. We don't have saving discipline. We don't have spending discipline. So most of us spend. We have a problem of not having any savings. So you have to first have that discipline of saving and spending. And there it will give you the basic amount of money to start from scratch. And I must admit, I mean, you don't need money. You need actually a better strategy. That is what I always say. I think Adam would agree with me. You always need a better strategy. You know, ask yourself, how can I add value? Who can I have speak, create a network and all of that? And believe you me, if your strategy has a lot of value in it, and you have really good network that you develop and create around you, you will be able to start that business with a very minimal amount of cash. Because it's all about the value add, the effort you put physically yourself. And of course, like we were talking about door to door here and there and all of that, it all adds. Network is key because they're the ones that will help you move from 1 to 2 to 3 and help the strategy day to day how to move forward. Because nobody, I promise you, no one had ever, when they started a small enterprises, they had money. No one. We all started with the little savings we had. Created a strategy, we created a master plan, and we moved from there.
My first business, which was my chicken business, what I was able to use from my savings was to build the infrastructure. But beyond the infrastructure, I didn't have the money, right? What I was able to get was supply credit, right? The area where I was setting up this business was rural. This operator of a hardware shop, was an agent for the chickling producers and the chicken feed producers. And I sold them the business plan. I sold them the idea. And he thought, in my area, I'm never going to get a customer who's going to give me this kind of volume. And so they got very excited because remember, selling is not only selling the product, it's selling the idea. It's selling the business to an extent where others buy into it so much that they say, no, look, I like this business. I like this, what they're saying. We got supply credit and he gave me a 1 month post statement. So I timed it, the start of the business, at the right time so that I would get the full month and then another month. So I knew I'd then have 8 weeks. And the life cycle of getting the chicken to market was 6 to 7 weeks. So I knew I had 6 weeks to get the chicken ready, and I had 2 weeks in which to be selling. But I also knew that every week I was getting more, right? But as this was happening, I was making sure I was looking for the customers. So I literally managed to get the first batch, right, ready for market, sold, collect, and literally had 1 day to write the check. And then those days we still had checks. I then delivered the check, knowing that my payments would have cleared. And by the time his check got to the bank, there was the money in there. So when he got his first check, I saw a huge sigh of relief in him. I saw he was confident now. So it was supply credit. The second one I'll talk about is when we set up what was Savannah Tobacco. We looked at this business had been liquidated, had no money. The liquidator wanted 16 million Zimbabwean dollars, right? What would he do? Went, got an option for, we wanted 6 months. He said, you can have a year because, look, nobody's interested. Got an option to buy it. Went, got tractors to mow the lawn around this place to look good. Got guys in with hose pipes to clean up the whole factory so it looked spanking and shining. Went on a roadshow to start speaking to people, say, look, there's this beautiful business. Had a business plan. Had a valuation, forward valuation, because it was an export business. And at that time, Zim, like even now, had major currency shortages. So we valued it at 780 million, right? With the forward valuation and everything. The guy said, jeepers, we can't afford this. But you know what? We'll come in for 10%. They paid us 78 million Zim dollars at that time for 10%. 16 million went to buy the business, which we didn't own, right? Suddenly we now owned 90% of the business from 16 million that came from guys who bought 10% of what we only had an option on. Another 12.5 million, my friend went and bought himself, my partner went and bought himself an X5. I was silly. I bought my wife an ML. I didn't buy myself a car. The balance, we put into the business, right? And then we performed again. And from the performance, we grew the business. So I didn't put 1 cent of my own money into creating the cigarette business that we have today. Not 1 cent, right? It was other people's money. For the chicken business, I didn't put 1 cent.
See, this is
It was supplier money.
This is for the audience. They must understand this is the strategy I'm talking about. So you don't need money. You need a good strategy like Adam had.
So necessity is the master of the invention, right? You don't have money. And I always say, even today, when I approach a business, guys, approach it from the perspective, I don't have money. So you use your mind, right? And you use your intellect. Throw your mind at the solution, not your money. Money will give you a lot less than your mind will give you.
Days, obviously, if the audiences are very, very young, they probably wouldn't even understand what in the olden days means, because for them, olden days was 1999 or 2000. But money, actual money, as in dollar money or rands money, people used to trade in services, so you are, and I am a goldsmith, and I need my documents to be typed and to be prepared and to be created. I would come to you. You would do my service, and if you have a jewelry, I can. So I sell to you, you would wear my jewelry, and it will look very pretty, and you would market me to people, because people will ask you, oh, where did you get that jewelry? And you'll be like, oh, Mr. Smith, so-and-so. And somebody will ask me, oh, your documents are really perfectly done. Where did you get that? Oh, that secretarial services, so-and-so did it. So that barter trade still happens till today. Have a social media agent that is I want them to do my work, and I have a product that I can give it to them. They can use that product. So what I do is I give them my product. They create social media for me, and they manage my social media, and I have paid them in my product, and then they're going to advertise my product as well on top of that. So then you actually don't need cash money. You need to create a strategy where you can actually use your products, your services, for trading, for the services you need, for the marketing, for anything, whatever it is, for accounting, for financial advisors, for everything. You can actually create that trade-off, and you don't have to do it. So those are the things that we're saying. You just need a better strategy.
I'll share an example of a different business. And this happened in Zim, a struggling business, a struggling shoe business. So they were now going into winding down. They didn't have money. So they said, look, we're going to have to settle our people's packages through giving them the shoes, right, as the packages. And the guys were given the shoes, and they were very upset. But what happened after is what was interesting. When they went out there to sell the shoes because they needed that money, because that's what they've been given as their package, suddenly demand was created for those shoes. And suddenly the business actually came back and started producing those shoes because they created demand. It wasn't by design. It was actually by nature of where things were. They were in trouble. Staff. Just your stuff. If you have a product and the people around you, even the staff that you have, once you have a small staff complement, and they are out there also selling your product to their friends, to their families. We did that. We had areas in Zim where we struggled with cigarettes. We said, guys, come on. We're struggling with sales. What can we do? You going to your rural home. Why don't you take some cigarettes and share them around and share them at the shops around there? Tell them what they are. Share them with your family so that they also start smoking. And before you knew it, they were taking their family who was smoking a different brand because it's coming from them, and because it's their family member. Hey, I'm supporting my family member. That's where they work, right? That also creates its own dynamic and affinity, because it becomes, hey, this product is made by my niece's company. This product is made by my friend's company. And before you know it, it creates its own critical mass and starts also supporting your demand creation again. Because ultimately, it's demand creation everywhere.
I would strongly advise is they must have a plan. I think that is crucial. You must have your goal, because I would say if you have developed a strong and desire, when you meet diversity, I promise you, the goal and the desire will override diversity. So you have to make a plan, and that plan must be very clear on your goals, what you want to achieve, when you want to achieve, how you want to achieve, and so on and so forth. And trust me, there is no one business that has not come across diversity. So when you come to that crossroad and your desire and your goals are so strong and powerful, that your why is so powerful, all those diversity you overcome, and you will become successful, because those diversity will look like just a little wall that you can just climb over and go the other side and say, oh, it's fine, I can deal with this one, I can deal with that one. And that is very, very strong. So plan your goals, know your end goal, and just make sure your desires are very strong and you know your why, and those are the critical things. Yeah.
The one thing is commit, fully commit yourself, right? Nike says, just do it, right? That's the same. Commit yourself fully, put your everything into it. And for me, that's what will get it. And as you do that, always be thinking steps ahead. We mentioned the plan, so I'm not going to go through the plan again. But what I find is people are planning for the next step. So they'll be saying, when my product arrives, then I'll do this. When this happens, then I'll do that. A lot of these things, the operations people call it internal time. You don't need to wait for your product to arrive for you to have put together your full marketing plan. You don't need for your product to arrive for you to then go and buy the display unit that you're going to put the products into. All of these things, you know you're going to need them. Plan for them and have them all assembled and ready so that when the product arrives, you're rolling, right? Not then saying, okay, I now need to go get the display. The product is now sitting there and you're waiting 2 weeks for the guy to produce the display. You're now waiting 2 weeks for the guy to produce the marketing material. So it delays you getting to market by 4, 5, 6 weeks with things you could have done before the product arrived, right? So we need to commit and think ahead to the end, like Anna was saying, think to the end. Now, there was a question that I'll just like to take there, Leanne, that came through there, which was saying, everybody says identify your market first. You had a warehouse full. How did it happen that you not identified your market? Yes, you had. But it's amazing. When you go to people talking about an idea, the receptivity is always very high. Come the time for action, there will be lots of excuses. Oh no, we're not ready yet. Oh no, we don't have cash flow yet. Oh no, let's delay 3 weeks. Oh no, this has happened. You suddenly realize that all these so-called customers that you had in principle were paper tigers, right? Now the reality hits, and now you need to start getting out there and knocking on more and more and more doors, right? Secondly, you also don't want to spread the word too far about your impending product, because what it does is your competitors will put so many hurdles in front of you that you may actually fail. So often stealth and coming in without too much pre-announcement is actually helpful for your cause, right? Because then your competitors haven't put booby traps along the way, right? I'll give you an example of one company I am aware of in East Africa who went into the same industry as us, cigarettes. Their competitor, knowing when they're coming and knowing that everybody's wanting to get sales up front, they phoned and made an order, knowing that they've produced 100 or 1,000 units, bought everything, paid them cash for it, went and put it in a freezer. The product was spoiled. Then they released it into the market. So the first product that the market was exposed to was compromised product. So they were like, but why would we support a brand that gives us a product like this? By the time these guys realized what was happening, right, they'd been damaged quite significantly. So it took so much more effort for them to correct the brand impression because their competitor had already made their brand look horrendous than somebody who came in unannounced and didn't give the competitor time to plan all these terrible strategies to try and put them out of business. Whew, there are many.
I would say that, yeah. I would say, like Adam said, keep things pending and say, oh, I will do this only when this happens. I think that would be, for me, it's basically, yeah, I would say that is one thing you should never do, is keep things pending because of something else. Don't buy that display because maybe the production hasn't been done. So I would say that's the worst thing you can do, because that will delay your progress tremendously. Like you say, oh, but I've already got these customers, so I'm not going to look for any more customers. Then you're going to get stuck because those paper customers are not going to be materialized and you need extra customers. So you should always continue. So, business is a never ending game. It never ends. So don't put anything on hold. Don't say, oh, I'm not going to do this because, oh, I'm not going to go to the market because I haven't got my license. Don't do that. So don't put anything off, because business is a never ending game. So always be on the move, create the next level of doing. Always be doing, always do, and never stop doing. Always go out there and do. Never stop doing, ever.
I think it's aligned to what Anna is saying. Procrastination. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait, right? There's never going to be a perfect time, right? Don't wait, right? And I'll call it one thing or two things. One, we procrastinate. And in that procrastination, we overthink it. We overthink it to such a level that we actually demoralize ourselves, right? And we actually see everything that tells us why it won't work. You've got a great idea. You've got a great idea. But suddenly you then just start tearing yourself apart, right? In terms of your own confidence towards your own idea, right? Yes, look at what are the threats? What are the weaknesses? Yes, look at your opportunities and strengths. But don't procrastinate. Don't put it off. Once you're clear, you're confident this is a great idea, you've done enough homework, do it. Just do it. Fail fast and keep changing and adjusting those failures.
Yeah, as Adam said, I think if you notice, a lot of entrepreneur makes decision really quickly. We don't procrastinate making decision because we literally have this window where we say, I have an intuition and I feel this is right and I'm going to make a decision. So you will see entrepreneurs make quick decision. And trust me, not all decisions are right. We make hundreds and thousands of mistakes, but we learn from them and we continue to make decisions fast and quickly and so that we can always be moving forward. Well, like we said, remember we said at the beginning how to get sales people and how you must mentor them, train them, give them your time, pass on your skills and your strategies to them, and so on and so forth. So when you are at that ground level and you are creating those salespeople, they are the ones that grow to become those people that are on the same wavelength as you. Because you can see once you put your time and energy into those people, you will see where they move. They will either move with you and above you, and they'll become even better than you, then you know this is the person that I should keep in my team because they have the same level of wavelength and thinking as I have, and even better. And so, you know what they say, leaders employ the clever, the best people to become their right-hand persons. Well, that's how you create them, but you create them from the groundwork. And as you move forward, they will become those people. And they will run your corporations and your company and create a tremendous wealth for you.
I always say hire for attitude, right? Hire for attitude, not for aptitude. Aptitude you develop. Attitude is what makes or breaks it. So if you get guys, if you look for people with the right attitude, right, you can support them, mentor them, develop them to become absolute stars. But if you get somebody with the wrong attitude, no matter how hard you work towards developing them, if the attitude is wrong, you're going nowhere, right? So attitude is what I would say to you, you look for, and then you develop and train based on that attitude that will take you to where you want to go.
Okay, so as a female entrepreneur, I think everybody knows there's always challenges. It's a never-ending path. There's always discrimination. There's always disrespect. There's always all sorts of things, you know. And I think the most important is you can't be a victim. You can't play the victim. You have to remember these things can only get to you if you allow them. There is nobody who can get to you unless you yourself have allowed it. So I am one of those people. I have never played a victim, ever. I always say, you know what? We are all capable. I'm very proud to be a female. And being a female has gotten me some great deals, amazing deals, being a female, great places, you know. I go and play my female path and amazing things have happened, you know. So I can't say being a female is a negative. It's actually more positive than a negative. Yeah, you will get odd ones here and there, but those are just people. It's not you, it's those people. The problem is not you, the problem is them. So you have to make sure that you know that difference, and you have to continue your journey. So don't play the victim. You know, if you meet those circumstances, brush them off, because it's not you, it's the other person on the other side, and you just must continue your journey. Shine on. Be the best female you can be. Be grateful for being a female. And you know what? There is so much greater things out there being a female than a male. So I would say, you know, move on. Just don't play the victim. That's the best advice I can give you. I think balancing it's a lot to do with being honest with yourself, really honest with yourself. So when you're 100% honest with yourself, meaning what is my capacity? What am I capable of? How far can I reach here? What hands do I need? Helping hands do I need in this situation? And always be honest to others. So that extension of you being honest to yourself, that stretches over to you being honest with your customers. And that is basically how everything goes. So the more you're honest with yourself, and like I said, being vulnerable, always being open with everything and moving forward and not playing the victim, that will bring you forward even when you're crapping and you're messing up and you're doing this and you're honest. Guess what? those people that are put in that journey of yours to help you will come and help you. That is the main thing. So the most important is be honest with yourself. That will extend to being honest with your customers. That will extend to being successful in all areas of your life. And you'll find automatic balance in that, because, you know, being there fully gives you that balance.
The issue of working capital, obviously, you know, and overheating is always a challenge. You know, I think for every entrepreneur, that's one thing you're always balancing, because you never have enough capital, right? I mean, one of the greatest challenges I've seen is you create demand, you create interest, and then you fail to deliver, right? That is a major one. And what that creates is urgent competition for you and urgent throttling. So often, yes, we do take rather sail with the wind and rather try and overproduce a little bit, so that, yes, it stretches your working capital. Yes, you're limited, but at least you then don't let the market down. And as you start selling more and more, you're now able to replenish and not get into a situation where you create so much demand that you fail to supply and then you disappoint the market. So it is a tough balancing act, a very tough balancing act. When you look at an entrepreneurial ecosystem, it's really, I think, more to support entrepreneurs on their journey and to help them develop their skills, to help them develop their ideas more. And I think what we need to be seeing more of is these incubator hubs, right? Where people have an opportunity to actually get support. There's some great ideas out there, but people just don't know how to present them. People just don't know how to package them. And if presented and packaged correctly and with just a few doors open for them, you know, they can actually achieve great things. And I think that's part of what we're trying to achieve here with Jua, is not just a scenario of saying, guys, here's some money, right? We are bringing great entrepreneurs like Anna here. Anna started many businesses all over. And I know she's been very humble in terms of what she told you in terms of the business. She started plenty of business, right? And so the more people with that business experience we avail to entrepreneurs, the more discourse happens, the more we're able to help them develop the ideas, the more we're able to share ideas, and the more we're able to impart some of the experiences we've developed, only because we've gone through the hard knocks, only because we've paid the school fees, only because we've failed, right? And from that failure, we've learned and are able to then share what we learned from each of our failures. So that's how I see this ecosystem developing. But I think it has to go further. It has to go further in terms of actually being entrenched within an education system. So it actually has to start preparing our people on the continent for entrepreneurship from a young age. Most of our young people on the continent, they've never been exposed to business. They've never been exposed to entrepreneurship. They don't even know about it because we were socialized to look for a job in the civil service or to become a lawyer or to become a doctor, a teacher. That's how we're socialized as Africans. The idea of entrepreneurship was never socialized. In fact, it was looked down upon in some ways, right? In the same way like musicians were looked down upon in some ways in the past, and people in the arts were looked down upon. Those things have now evolved. And I think if we start imparting and making sure that people are aware of entrepreneurship from a young age, we'll actually create a more robust ecosystem that's enduring and sustainable. Remember, as entrepreneurs, we see opportunities everywhere. right? You know, you've got that mad gene that says, gee, look at that. When we started the show, Anna was talking about what's happening with the stock market and people bringing people in. And I was saying, Anna, I think there's an opportunity there. Why don't we talk about it? So yes, there's always going to be 100 ideas, but I think you need to be able to have the discipline. I think Anna put it very clearly. We're discipline. Entrepreneurship is discipline. Discipline from financial, discipline from saying, look, guys, this is my bandwidth, right? I can only do so many things at once. And then once these have been developed to the right level and have been passed on to the next, I always say for myself, I'm always working myself out of a job, right? You get into an entrepreneurial venture, very quickly work with a team to develop it. The team owns it, runs with it. I become irrelevant and I need to look for the next thing to keep me going, right? So don't try and do too many at once. Focus, really focus, work on it, get it right, get it working, commercialize it, scale it. And then once it gets to a level where management can run with it and your presence is now minimal, then you can chase the next thing because now you've got more time and more bandwidth.
Mm.
Chase two rabbits, you catch none.
Yeah. You can only be a master to one. You can't be a master to many. Quitting? What is it? I don't know what a quitting is. I don't know what quitting is. I'm
No.
one of those people, I always say nothing is impossible and I will go all the way to the end. Yeah. So
Failure is just
when I
telling you
see
there's
that
a
my
better way.
journey, yeah, it just means you have to find a new strategy.
Yes.
You have to find a new ways and means and a plan and go back to the drawing board and draw again and again and again. And until you find that new path and a new way. So, yeah.
Yeah. Look, what makes us stop in certain instances is where now we have told ourselves that I can't do it. So once you tell your mind something, that becomes what your mind believes, right? But if you wake up every day saying, no, we're going to crack this. We're going to find the solution in this. You will find it, right? Because our minds are designed in such a way that what you feed it is what it grows. So if you feed it that I'm failing, then what you start thinking in your mind is that I'm failing. And you start only seeing failure. But if you feed it that we're going to make this work, it's going to succeed, right? We're going to find solutions. It's amazing how at 2, 3 in the morning, you just wake up and you have this eureka moment, right? I think my wife earlier on, she must have thought, whoever this girl is, I need to discover who she is. That at 2 or 3 in the morning, he picks up his phone to send her messages. But this girl was the eureka moments that would happen to you whilst you're sleeping. And you're writing them in a permanent place, because the problem that happens is when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh gosh, what was that idea? It was a fantastic idea, but you've forgotten it. So it comes to you at the most inopportune moments. It comes to you at the least expected moments. Write it down, because that's where the solution suddenly is. But because we're saying, no, I'll think about it later. You don't choose when the solution comes to you. It comes to you when it does. Is it 2 a.m.? Is it 6 a.m.? Is it just as you get into bed? Is it when you're in the shower? I've often had to come out of the shower, right, to go and get my phone and make a note, because I'm saying to myself, I might forget this by the time I'm finished showering, right? So that's us as entrepreneurs. Our lives are a little bit crazy, and we end up having to do things that others look at and think, what's going on here? But it's all part of feeding that animal of entrepreneurship and making sure that we don't give up.
I'm so happy you said about the shower, because I was actually just about to say that. I have actually had to get out of the shower many times and to write something that came into my mind. And it's funny that it happens a lot in the shower. Actually, that's one of the things. And if you're not in tune with your intuition, you just think, oh, I'm just having a shower and this is crazy. But you have to be in tune with your intuition, like I said before, and that intuition, you must write it and put it into action, because those are your ideas, those are your answers to anything. And when you say failure, I wouldn't even use the word failure. I would say the universe is showing you you are in the wrong path, and that you need to move to a different path. So unfortunately, usually the universe shows you that when you're on a wrong path, it knocks you really hard. It really gives you a boom, like a really hard knock. And so you have to have that intuition to realize, oh, I'm actually not failing. I'm just in the wrong path. I need to find a new path, a new idea, a new way, a new plan, a new strategy to move on to that. And once you when you make that decision, like Adam says, now be aware of the intuition that comes to you in the middle of the night, having a shower, or when you are driving, any time. Just be aware of it, and as soon as you have it, just write all random things that come to your mind. Just write it. All the greatest people, all the greatest successful people, if you read their autobiography, they will tell you they write everything that comes into their mind and they put that into practice. That's basically what entrepreneurs do. It's just they write everything that's come to their mind, because one of those things intuitionally is right. Like I said, to get venture, you have to show some proof of your idea working full scale. Having one client, that does not prove anything. I got venture because I showed that I could have a certain amount of limit of clients on the database. I showed that I was generating a certain amount of revenue, and so on and so forth. So from there, it's like it's a calculative game. So if you get a venture, what they will do is they'll come and they'll say, okay, so within this period, you got these customers. In this period, you've got this amount of revenue coming in. And so if we come in and we venture with you in 5 years, this will grow to this amount will grow to this. And they're ready to take the risk because you have shown them something. But if you have zero, unless you have a magic idea, that's when you can have ventures, or it's proven that this business works already. For example, with Adam, that he had this cigarette or manufacturing, things like that. That's when only ventures will come and invest and grow that business. But if you have nothing, you're starting from ground zero, the probability of you having somebody is nil.
No, I mean, I always say money follows great ideas, right? But the great ideas, you have to have shown that it's a great idea. It can't just be a paper tiger. It can't be a great idea on paper. It has to be a great idea in practice, right? And so a great idea in practice will quickly gain critical mass, right? You need to identify your customer clearly, Wesley, and you need to understand who they are. You need to then engage all those people who fit your customer profile, right? Speak to them, engage them, see what they say, hear what they say. They'll come back to you and say, Wesley, I like your plan, but it's missing these critical components that we need, all right? The others will say it's missing that. You then develop that product. Just like I said to you with our cigarettes, it was only one little insight on a cigarette stick that changed the game. Now that's what you need to be getting, those insights, so that you now have a product that's ready. Now you start saying, oh, these guys coming on board quickly. And when that happens, right, then now when you're talking to venture capitalists and they're seeing that there's a critical mass of people wanting to join this train, they'll say, okay, you've got 100 Rand. It's gotten you 5 customers. So if we give you 1,000 Rand, we can see it'll give you 55 customers, not even 50, right? And we give you 1 million Rand, we'll have 600,000 customers. That's when they'll come in. But if it's just at a point of don't go business plan by paralysis, by analysis, like you're talking. A good business plan is very concise. I always copy somebody who says, sorry, I wrote you a long letter. I didn't have time to write you a short one, right? When you're able to condense, right, it's because you've now really applied your mind to it. If it's long and wordy and whatever, it's because you haven't really applied your mind to it. When it's condensed, you've really, really condensed it to its most critical elements. And that is an effective business plan.